Hi, it's Brendan Payne, Century 21, the Harrelson Group here again with another frequently asked question that comes up all the time. And this one has to do with sellers when they're getting ready to put the property on the market. They're always wanting to know, how long is it going to take to sell my property? Now, within markets, every market's a little bit different. And then even within individual markets, different pockets can take a little bit longer. But typically, one of the factors that determines how long a property takes to get sold is going to be the size of the buyer audience. And the buyer audience is the group of people that are going to be looking for that type of property. So an example would be single family home in a neighborhood, great school system, close to, metro area. They've got restaurants, things like that. That could be a very large buyer audience. You've got people that are maybe first time buyers that would work for it, or move up buyers, or maybe even people that are looking at downsize. A good large group of people could fit with that property. On the flip side, you could have some raw land that's outside of town, isn't really being used for anything. Nobody really knows. Could it be developed? Could it not? Is it farmland? No real history on income generating. That's going to be a smaller group of people that are going to be looking for that. So the smaller the buyer audience, typically the longer it's going to take to get it sold. In addition to the size, there's a couple of things that can affect your buyer audience. And one of them would be the type of property that you're selling, of course, but also the condition of the property. So go back to that single family neighborhood. If you've got two homes and one is move-in ready, and people could buy it, move in, and they might do a few cosmetic things, but there's really no work to do, that buyer audience is going to fit everybody. If you've got a property that needs some work, maybe it's been a rental and it needs new flooring, and it might even need appliances and some upkeep and some aesthetic changes, and maybe even some structural things need to be repaired. Even though the neighborhood's good, the location's great, the amount of people that want to go in and start a project as soon as they buy something is going to be smaller. So the condition of the property can definitely affect the buyer audience as well as the location. Now, beyond that, there's a few key factors that you have to be aware of. And pricing is an important part that determines how long it takes to sell your property. And this doesn't mean you have to price it low or underprice it or leave money on the table. It just means pricing the property correctly can make a big difference. And the way that you figure that, whether it's priced correctly, is find a professional that understands the market and can give you the correlation between when properties are priced at the higher end of the range, then it's taking this long. If they're priced at the lower end of the range, it's taking this long. And then figure out what works for you and price the property accordingly. So price and time are directly related, and you want to make sure that you factor that in. Also, making any necessary repairs, the obvious things, can really help with the amount of time that it takes. It's amazing how many times people will walk into a home and they look at it and they say, you know what, this would really work for us. We like it. The neighborhood's great, but, and then the list of buts can be very, very small, insignificant. Maybe it needs paint. Maybe it needs carpet. Maybe it needs, the grass in the back is not as good condition as the potential buyer wants it. All little things, but a lot of times those little things might eliminate a buyer because they don't want to get into the home and then have to do this work. They may close on the property and use most of their money for down payment, and they don't have a lot of extra after that. So if you can do a few things ahead of time that are obvious, not that expensive, and will make a good return on your investment, that can speed up the time that it takes you to get a good, strong buyer. Okay. And then last is accessibility. When you're selling a property, it's got to be accessible, meaning when buyers want to be able to get in and take a look at it, then it's really important that you do everything you can to get them in there, because they may be on limited time, and they also always have a second choice. No matter what market's out there, there's always a second choice. So if we make it difficult for them to get in, or I see this a lot in tenant occupied properties, trying to do the right thing for the tenant and giving them a lot of notice, that can be a challenge because sometimes the buyer's schedule doesn't work, or they just forget about it, move on to something else, and then you lose out on that opportunity. So remember, if you are getting ready to put a property on the market, those key factors of trying to increase the size of your buyer audience, do the little things that need to be done ahead of time, and then hiring somebody that can actually show you how to price the property correctly, market it correctly once it's on the market, can make a big difference and make sure you're not sitting out there on the market for an extended period of time. Thanks so much, and continue to tune in to watch these frequently asked questions that I'll answer for you on the buying and selling process. Talk to you soon.